How's it going? Ryan here. And today we're going to go over the single trade that I took on SPY that allowed me to make over 20%. But before we dive into the trade, I am going to go over some of the levels and see what I was thinking coming into the day and what led me to take the trade. So we'll diagnose it from there. First of all, we're looking at the daily time frame. This is where I start every day, looking for levels and areas of interest that I'm watching for, depending on where we are trading, what price range we're at. I'll mark some relevant levels in the area. So the very top one here we have is this 450.78. This was kind of a long shot, but you can see that we found resistance at this area, broke above, found support. Now that we're back below it, we've found it as resistance again. So that's just kind of an area that we've had a lot of confluence in terms of resistance towards support, back towards resistance. So that being the highest level that we had marked today. The next would be this 448 area. As you can see, it's been support. We've been in this downtrend in the past 2 weeks or so, making lower lows, lower highs. But one area that we found support at numerous times was this 448. You can see here we closed, or opened and pushed below it and then closed up above. So support there. It was the low of day on this trading session, so support there. Similar over here, kind of the opening price pushed way down, pulled all the way back up and closed above. So big support on the daily time frame. The next daily level that we had here was this 445. This came into play, and we'll dive into that a bit later. But this 445, which was the low of day for this gap up that we had, as well as some low of days, some heavy support on the daily and more recent time frame as well, past week. The next level that we had on the daily was this 444, so $1 below here. And this level, as you can see, was resistance before we gapped up and broke out. The next would be this area here, kind of that gap to fill, this 442.6 area. You can see there's support here, resistance here, resistance here. And then kind of like a long shot to the bottom, we have 440, nice whole number. But you can see it was resistance. We had some price action support in this day. So that was kind of a far shot in terms of what we might see if we broke to the downside. But nevertheless, we charted it out. Those are the levels that we got off the daily chart. Explanation why. Then I dive into an hourly chart just to confirm what we're looking at. So in the past couple days, you can see that we've been in this kind of downward channel, making violent moves essentially in whichever direction. Whether we're at the top of the channel, we have a sharp decline, at the bottom of the channel, sharp rise. And so that was something just kind of watch as we were having some of this chop. We were opening up within the range of Friday's trading session. So anytime you're trading within the range of a previous day, you kind of expect it to be a little choppy. You're playing a little more cautious, looking to either break to the upside or the downside before we determine anything. Few areas that I marked here were actually from the 15-minute. And these two zones that you see here, we have the green, which is the high of Friday's trading session. We have the red, which is the low of Friday's trading session. And then we have these zones here marked by these green rectangles. Those, as you can see, are supply and demand zones from the previous trading day, which happened to be last Friday. As you can see, we wicked up into those. We found heavy selling up here. As you can see, we wicked up, pushed down, finally sold off. And likewise, the opposite down here. We came off the open, we came down into the zone, wicked off pretty long wicks on the bottom before rallying to the upside. So some pretty good price action in those zones correlating with the high and the low of the day. So those were two areas that I was looking at and how we might react. Beyond that, we have these two yellow or golden lines, and these are pre-market levels. I use this color to differentiate pre-market or intraday levels, as those can be pretty relevant. I didn't have any intraday levels I marked today, So the only ones we have here are this pre-market low, which we came down, gapped up off this level once, made that high a day, so that's where that comes into play, and then came down and found support early in the morning, as well as pre-market here. So, and that kind of correlated with the low of today's trading session as well. With all that being said, I apologize, but that's the levels I was looking at. We'll dive into the 5-minute chart. As going into the day, we were opening up in between these zones, and I wasn't quite sure right off the open what I wanted to see. But as we opened and we kind of chopped around for the first few minutes of the day, that kind of allowed me to develop my plan and see what ultimately led me to take the trade that I did. So we opened up in between the pre-market low and this 445 level that was a significant level. It's a whole number and it was a big level on the daily chart, lots of confluence. So opening up in here, I wasn't looking to take a trade until I saw direction either down or up. We chopped in this zone and we found good support at the pre-market low. We found pretty heavy resistance at this 445 level. Once I saw us chopping in this range, like I said, I really wanted to see which way we broke out, whether we broke to the downside of this range or to the upside. And one thing that I noted is that to the downside, we had quite a few barriers in terms of a continued rundown. And what I mean by that is we have the pre-market low, which has acted as support and was acting as strong support early in the day. Below that, we had that 444 level that was big on the daily chart as well. So that would possibly act as a level of support. Below that, we had the demand zone and the low of day from Friday. So we had some big swings to the upside out of this area as well. So we'd have to break below the pre-market low, break below this whole number and big daily time level, or daily level, this supply, or demand zone and the low of day. So I saw more resistance to the downside. What I did say is that if we got a break to the upside, there wasn't really much stopping us from hitting this 446 level. And I know I have this zone slightly above it, but if you look at 446 and you look at Friday's trading session, just some recent kind of areas where we found resistance, where once we got up to 446, or in this zone, and you can see how that played out. The top of this wick is just a few cents below 446. So I really like to move to the upside if we could break convincingly out of this range. Once we had this candle, we opened pretty much right at that level. We wicked below, but then we pushed up and we closed pretty strong. That gave me the confidence. After these candles wicked up and failed to close below, the fact that we pushed below, couldn't close below that level, and pushed up and finished towards the top, towards the high of that candle, that was very bullish to me, and that gave me the confidence to take the trade I did, which was a call on this candle here. So as we came down and retested this 445 area, now that we closed convincingly above it, I wanted to get a retest and continuation of that move. So I got in calls right at this level. I think my fill, I took a 446 call, tomorrow's expiration. I took one contract and I got the fill pretty much right at 445 as it was testing here. And my fill, I think, on the contract is $131, so $131 on that. Pretty much immediately, this candle, it bounced around a little bit, but it closed really bullish, and we see an increase in volume. So you start to, or excuse me, I guess it's the next candle. I apologize. But these two candles back to back, long wicks, you know, the body is really bullish, closing at the high of the candle. That's exactly what I wanted to see. This next candle, we had a huge increase in volume compared to the previous, 3 or so. Also a bullish candle, a little bit of a wick on the bottom, big green body. We were pushing up towards this 446. I said that I would sell my contract as we reach that level. That was really the target that I had for the day. So I sold on this next candle here, as you see, big volume coming in, and I sold a little early. I sold like right around in here, right before we hit 446, and the reason being for that was that we were showing strength to the upside, but I had to remind myself that we were still in Friday's range. And generally these days are a little choppier. This one tended to be an exception. You know, this was a nice day, and it actually became a little bit more choppy once we broke above the high of Friday's trading session. But I was a little cautious because I thought to myself, you know, we're still in Friday's trading session. I'm not sure if we'll just get this big, strong move all the way into the zone. We might have some pullback. We might have some chop. And with that being kind of the closest level that I could see us bouncing off of from Friday's trading session, as well as you can see some of the price action that we had in the pre-market at that level, I was comfortable taking profits because I got a good fill. It's about $1 move. So I sold in here. It happened to be a little early because we did push up and touch this zone exactly. Had I waited, I could have squeezed out like another 10% profit on this trade. As soon as we got above 446, those contracts moved pretty well. So even though the size of that move is pretty small relative to the rest of it, the price of the premium really reacted well. So sold a little early. If I'm looking at things that I could improve, I should have held. I had no reason to sell. We were very bullish. Volume was increasing as we were pushing up into this zone. So, you know, no trade is absolutely perfect, but if I could have a perfect trade on this, I would have sold right as we had touched this zone and, you know, would have had a slightly better day. But overall, can't complain. As you can see, that was the only trade I took. I was happy with that move. I did say that as we looked at touching this zone, you could potentially scalp puts because we would probably see some sellers up here, but to take it as a scalp, you know, because it is a strong day to the upside, and anything can happen. But when you have that much strength pushing up, shorting it against the trend is not really something that you want to try to hold on to. You can do it. You could just scalp some of these moves and made a nice little trade. But yeah, in terms of holding for a longer move to the downside, I didn't see it. This would have been a great one to have multiple contracts, you know, scale out here, leave a runner, move my stop loss up. As you can see, we went up, you know, all the way to 447.5 or so without stopping, you know, so that would have been a really great one to have held. I'm sure those contracts were insane once we got up in here, but I don't have any regrets on this trade. It worked out pretty much according to plan in terms of taking it from one level to the next. So that was a really good day for me. A good day back. I had a week off the week prior to last. So before I took a break, I had some losing trades. I think I got out of my element. So maybe stepping back, taking some time away, reevaluating, approaching with a new mindset, new clarity really helped me in today's trading session, as well as the price action. Price action was textbook. I mean, that's a nice move. Well, overall, you know, maybe I could have held on to my game plan a little bit longer and sold right when we got to that level, you know. But overall, I'm really happy with how today played out. Yeah, it's good. It's good to come back and evaluate a trade that worked out well. Just looking at how the rest of the day played out, you can see that we pushed up. This was the pre-market high. We broke above that a little bit, so that level wasn't super accurate. As you can see, kind of this, I guess 447.5 probably would have been a better level in here to look at. But we pushed up, came down, retested this, you know, resistance turn support, bounced off that, came up, retested, and you can just see what we did. As we pushed up, we broke through that pre-market high and previous day high and closed close to that 448 level that I was looking at that I marked off the daily. So bullish day, huge move off the open. If you caught, you know, this part, if you caught this bull flag here, you know, you can see that we were kind of flagging around. I don't know why that didn't work. You can see that we flagged in here and then broke out and made that move. You know, you could have caught a variety. You could have caught this bounce. You could have caught this bounce. If you played power hour, you could have caught in there. So there were nice moves to the upside. There were also some moves to the downside that you could have captured, you know, if you're trying to play counter trend. But overall, a nice day, and I'm happy to have come out positive. With that being said, if you made it this far, I appreciate you supporting and watching. Hope you learned something or enjoyed the video. I trade every single day, Monday through Friday, on this channel. I stream it live. If you're interested, come join. I always love having people to interact with, bounce ideas off of, and it just makes it more fun. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.